Good morning, and thank you for attending our peer-to-peer forum. Today's call is on getting ready for AI. Our speaker today is Dave Sackett. He's a member of our Boston chapter and Senior Director of Finance and Administration at ULVAC Technologies. That's ULVAC. My name is Angela Tice, and I'm the Northeast Regional Director and National Membership Chair of the CFO Leadership Council. I just want to do a little housekeeping before we get started. You are all muted at this time. And we do that so that there are no distractions while our speaker is talking. However, we certainly encourage your questions and comments, so please feel free to use the chat area to communicate. We really welcome your interaction, and we really want to make sure that your needs are addressed, so please feel free to do so throughout this presentation. I'll be monitoring that area and interrupt our speaker as I see any questions or comments come through. We're also going to leave a little time at the end of the presentation so that if you prefer to wait to ask a question or comment, you'll have an opportunity to do so at that time. So now I'd like to present our speaker, Dave Sackett. Dave has been in private company CFO and CIO roles at ULVAC Technologies since 2006. He actively manages the finance, accounting, and IT functions as a lean operation. His main leadership goal is to improve profitability by carefully selecting investments in technology. He delegates tasks and coaches his staff to become a high-performance problem-solving team. He takes a serious approach toward continuous professional development for his company. I can go on and tell you all about how much he gets involved with AI. He is, in my opinion, an expert. So thank you so much, Dave, for taking the time to speak to so many of our members across the United States today. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Hey, thank you for the introduction, Angela. Yeah, so hello, everyone. I am really pumped about this AI technology. It's one of my passions. I have been doing a lot of research, and I do have my own AI project going on at work with robotics process automation that I'll get into. So to start us off, follow the money going into AI. It's hundreds of billions of dollars that are going into AI. Here are some of the companies that are doing the investments. It's pretty much a race to see who can have the most developed AI over their competitors. So it's very much, AI is such a broad category. All these companies aren't doing just one look at AI. They're trying, several different approaches and several different technologies under the umbrella of AI. China alone is planning to spend the equivalent of $150 billion to invest in artificial intelligence. And between China and the U.S. military, there's also, military spending in AI. We've seen some news from Google where they refuse to do AI for the drones, military drones, and that's kind of people's, maybe first indication like, whoa, I didn't know Google is using AI in drone technology. So a lot of this stuff is kind of hush-hush, but a lot of it is still in the public eye in terms of what's being spent on AI and why it's such a big product right now. So so far there've been 4 industrial revolutions. We're on the 4th right now. I thought this is kind of a good slide just to show everybody, what's the past and where we are today. So this is probably my most important slide that I want to push today. It's a visual on how big data will grow exponentially within Industry 4.0, or the 4th industrial revolution. Within Industry 4.0, you've got mobile computing, robotic process automation, or RPA. You've got artificial intelligence. You've got smart technologies, smartphones, smart refrigerators, like all this, smart technology, all of this AI, Internet of Things, blockchain. This is creating lots and lots of data. So much data, in fact, that it really can't be managed well by humans. And that's where AI comes in to kind of manage that big data. AI is able to, analyze and learn things from all these transactions that would be virtually impossible for a human to keep up with. So now that you know the technologies in Industry 4.0, what's going to happen is that some of these technologies are going to complement each other and combine. So technologies like blockchain and AI will come together. One example of that is people want an audit trail for AI. They want to see where the decision making is. They want to be able to test the algorithms, make sure that data is secure. It can be encrypted. It can be, make sure it can't be changed after the fact. So that's a trend that you're going to see in the future. And AI is expected to support up to 80% of these Industry 4.0 technologies. So with AI, we still kind of are in the beginning. AI has been studied since World War II. That's really where it started. And there's been ups and downs over the year, but now in 2018, we're seeing it explode. Part of that explosion is due to the technology is much stronger now. The computing software is, easily accessible for high amounts of data, high amounts of number crunching and transaction crunching, so that it's really made it easy for AI to take off. So this is a slide from Gartner Research, just to kind of show you what's expected and how much AI is supposed to grow. They're expecting 14.2 billion connected things. So that can be, your toaster, it can be your smartphone. And all these things are going to create huge amounts of data. It'll be applied to a wide range of IoT information. That's images, speech, network traffic, and sensor data. The technology landscape for AI is complex, and a lot of IT vendors are heavily invested in AI. And you're going to see more and more, like ERP systems, for example, will have AI components built in already. So I think right now we're ready for poll question 1.
Is that on the screen?
Yes, I don't see it. So I change presenter back to you?
No, we got it, Dave. It only goes out
Okay.
to the attendees. We should have told you that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so I think that we've probably given everyone enough time, so I'm going to close that.
All right.
Share that. Kristen, do you see that on your side?
Yes.
Terrific. So that means that all of our attendees can see that. And Dave, I'm not sure if you can see that.
I can't, but that's all right. I'll check it out later.
It looks like 27% are saying we are waiting for technology to mature. We have 40% saying we lack the resources to start, i.e. budget, skills, etc. And another 27% is actually saying other. So we'll find out what that is if you'd like to ask. And about 7% are saying we are content with using other software improvements. So the only one that the only one that no one said anything about was the ROI is not persuasive enough for my company. No one chose that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that'll be something I talk to in future slides.
Great. We're back to you.
All righty. Okay, so I talked earlier about why big data have come about, and why it's important to AI is my next topic. So machines or bots or AI learn by exposure to data and identifying similarities versus differences. So the more data that AI can analyze, the better understanding. So my first example is going to be a non-finance one. It's identifying a frog. So for AI to understand what a frog is, it needs to see lots and lots and lots of pictures of different frogs to narrow down what makes up a frog and what doesn't make up a frog. Human learning is different than our current AI learning. Human learning, you can say, okay, frogs are usually near water. They've got webbed feet. They have smooth skin. They've got bulgy eyes. We can the way we learn about what a frog is different because you can use that learning and having all the background information to figure out what a future frog looks like. For AI, in contrast, it needs to explicitly say, okay, it has 4 legs, it's not a frog. Frogs have 2 legs, okay? So it can't be, anything with 4 legs can't be a frog. But humans, are humans frogs? Humans have 2 legs. And you have to say, no, it's, this is the difference between humans and frogs. So humans are not frogs, frogs are frogs. And here's more and more examples. So that's kind of my way to explain how it works. Now, to go back to a finance example, let's look at expense reports. So AI can analyze a lot of expense reports and identify patterns as what normal really is. It can check per diem rates, it can reference other employees who travel to different locations, and the more and more expense reports that get flagged as approved or normal kind of builds that intelligence into AI. It says, okay, I've done this enough times, I've seen enough expense reports to say, yes, this looks okay. It's all been approved, the rates are fine, the amounts kind of are similar to what I've seen before, and that becomes normal. By doing that, now AI is going to look at reports that are outside those parameters, and it may kick it aside and say, whoa, wait a second, I don't, this kind of entertainment expense, it's not normally this high on your average expense report. Or, yeah, we don't approve, this charge. This is the first time I'm seeing one of these charges. Maybe I'll set that aside for a human to look at to determine whether or not this expense report can be approved. Okay, and this is a visual that I found online that I thought was kind of cool. It's kind of the difference between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. The term AI is a very broad tool or term that describes what can happen. Within artificial intelligence, you have both deep learning and machine learning. So the example I just spoke about, the frogs and the expense report, that's machine learning. Deep learning is in that machine learning where now you can combine tasks like speech and image recognition to go down to a much deeper understanding of a topic, and that's the deep learning side of AI, which in this presentation I'm not really going to get into. Mostly I'm going to be talking about machine learning as it applies to finance. So at this stage of the game for finance people, we should be looking at it as a productivity tool. Accountants have used tools for centuries to support their roles. Artificial intelligence is software automation at this point, especially robotic process automation, and it works very much like an Excel macro. As long as you provide the right instructions, the software follows through. And if you have that concept down, that's really how AI is going to work in the short term. So my advice would be leverage AI as you would a calculator. It's not going to be something that's going to make your job go away. It's not going to totally revolutionize how you work. It's only really going to supplement it and kind of give you just like a software tool to do your job. And what always comes down to is, I get questions, when will AI affect me? Like when is this all going to come down? So what I've noticed is that bigger public companies with many transactions have the financial resources and are the best case of ROI in regards to automating accounting tasks. And so that's not to say that nobody can do one of these projects, but bigger companies have the resources to do artificial intelligence today. And based on the poll result numbers, yeah, not everybody has the budget today to do AI, but I'm kind of doing a pilot program right now with RPA. I'm in a smaller company. My plan is to only have one bot at the moment, and it's going to be simply to automate the manual data entry effect of AP. So it's not too bad, and I'll go into that later. But before you do an AI project, there needs to be good documentation on your current process, and there should be standardization so that you can teach a bot to understand how your company works. How will workflows work with software automation? So that's all planned AI. You may have unplanned AI in the future. you may be pushed into AI in the form of risk management. So, for example, there may be an AI attack on your cybersecurity system, and in order to defend against AI, you would have to have your own kind of good AI to fight the bad AI in a cyber attack. So, common contributions to machine learning. Anytime you update your email spam filter rules, telling news feeds what your preferred content is, using Google Maps or Google Translate. When Amazon tells you, hey, this is what other people have picked, or Netflix, you may like this, that's all AI in the background based on the decisions you're telling it. We've got Alexa, Google Home, Bixby. These are all AI assistants, and everyone may have AI on their smartphone today. Whether they use it or not is another story, but it is being pushed to the general population. So supervised machine learning versus unsupervised. Here are examples of expense reports that can be approved. And here are examples of expense report that cannot be approved. That's what you're telling a bot. That's the supervised side of machine learning. Unsupervised, the example would be, here are all the expense reports. What patterns can you find, AI? What things look off relative to the previous expense reports that you've analyzed? This is where I think people want to go. But right now, we're still more at the supervised stage. So an introduction to RPA. Robotic process automation uses a software robot or bot that replicates the actions of a human to execute tasks across multiple computer systems. So in my example, where I'm implementing RPA, it's to stop the data entry of vendor invoices. But here's an example just to show you of what RPA can do. A bot could scan an invoice, make it a PDF, attach and send it to a customer as an email, save that data into an Excel spreadsheet, log into a web system, transfer the data to generate a report, then email an employee to say the work is done. So these are all structured tasks that an employee can do, but if it's standardized, it is something a bot could do. Robotics is predicted to automate or eliminate up to 40% of transactional accounting work by 2020, according to a 2015 report. So I'm seeing more and more companies taking on RPA projects. And I would expect in the future, nearly every accounting department will have a bot in some form or another. So what can be automated with RPA? I've talked about data capture, data entry, three-way matching. So just a quick explanation on that. If we have a vendor invoice and I have my ERP system, in order for that to be loaded on our ERP, it has to be checked to make sure that there's a purchase order open, the product's been received, and this is a back and forth matching system between the bot and my ERP system. So other things that can be automated are vendor interactions, payments, document review and approval, process controls, exception processing, flux analysis. And the vendor I've chosen for my project is called DocuPhase. So robotic assistants. They don't look like that, but it's a nice visual of what they do. So they can control your processes. They can enforce rules. They can automate communication, provide reminders and alerts, manage resources and escalating to the correct person, perform data entry, collect and present data and documentation, and also ask for your expert input for review or approval. So especially as we get started with AI data, you don't want to rely completely on AI to push data through your system. I've got to check where the robot takes all the information, does the best they can, and then a human verifies all that information and checks it before it's okay.
Hey Dave, before we
Yeah.
go on, it looks
Sure.
like we have a question, and I'm going to try to unmute her phone or
Sounds
her
good.
line. So let's see
Yep.
if this works. I'm going to unmute.
Okay.
So Kathy, I think you have your hand up for a question. Okay, perhaps not. Kathy, did you have a question for Dave? Okay, perhaps not.
Angela, I can see some questions in here. They're just basically noting that there's some feedback in the audio when Dave talks.
Ah,
I don't think there's much we can do, but we just hear a little bit of an echo. I
okay.
think if we all stay muted.
Okay. You can keep going, Dave.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks. But yeah, I do welcome questions. So if people have questions, usually in a live forum that I'm in, I see people's hands go up. I do answer questions as part of this. So please feel free to ask, because I'm going through a lot of topics fairly quickly. And my idea is to kind of move it along so that you have a good understanding of what's out there, what can be done. So for automating data entry, it's pretty much whatever you can think of. It's invoices, purchase order requests, purchase orders, entering data into a web portal. And in terms of starting RPA, you can pretty much start anywhere where you've got manual transactions, whether it's AP, AR, order entry, your purchase order system, customer service, operations, compliance, HR. And I did want to talk about chatbots. This market is supposed to really explode. It's in the $400 million range now, but they're expecting it to go up to $2.1 billion. So chatbots you may be familiar with when you're looking for customer service. They might be like, hey, how can I help you? What seems to be the problem? Who can I forward you? These are chatbots that use AI. And they can be used for more and more in the future, especially as bots are able to understand language. You may be able to talk to a bot on the phone, and they can direct you to who you need to go to, or maybe even answer your question if you've got something that they can answer for you. So I think this is probably a good spot for poll question number 2.
Okay. So people are putting in their answers, Dave, and I'm just
Great.
waiting for it to be as high as it can possibly go.
Okay.
And then I'll read to you what the answers are. The question, of course, is where do you see your company using AI first? Give it just another second. Okay. And it looks like the highest is they believe that they'll see their company using AI first with automation of manual transactions. That was 65%, followed by analyzing trends and data for business insight at 17%. And then equally was customer and/or vendor support through chatbots and other. So no one said anything about predictive forecasting, Dave.
Okay. Yeah, that's that's pretty much what I expected. My first jump into the pool with AI is for that manual transaction, have a bot do it instead of human.
Terrific. Back to you.
Okay, so just some benefits of accounting automation. So more efficient processes, more accountability compliance, and it can be done quickly. So this is a sample of information, based on polled data of customers who implemented RPA. This is the before, a cost of $22 to process an order. 16 days from start to end, and early payment discounts, maybe only 16%. After RPA, the cost to process transaction came down, time to process came down, and more early payment discounts were picked up automatically by a bot. So
Dave,
this is kind of, go ahead.
So sorry, I do have a question.
No,
and again, I promised everyone I would interrupt, so thank you for letting me.
Please do.
Great. The question here is, can we start purchasing AI software now, and how will that be integrated into our accounting systems? Can we incorporate third-party AI software, or will each accounting software vendor need to have it built into their systems?
Great question. Yes, you can buy it now, and that's what I've done. So I've got an ERP system that I'm going to keep, and I'm going to add on the automation piece of AI in terms of RPA. So what I'm doing is I'm contracting with a vendor that has access to my ERP system. Mine runs in SQL. They have access to the SQL tables. So that's how the bot will interact with my ERP system solution. And after this call, if you want to send me an email or a note, I can go into a lot more detail, but that's exactly how it's supposed to work today. Big companies may do like an SAP, an Oracle. These will have kind of the built-in AI, but for people who want to keep their solution, keep it within budget, it's going to be a bolt-on or an add-on. And with this, I'm expecting return on investment based on my upfront cost of automation. It should pay for itself over X number of years, and then just be that much more efficient in processing transactions.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. And if there's more questions, please let them go.
Promise.
Okay. So myths and reality of RPA. Myth 1, robotics will fix outdated or inefficient processes. What really it means is that your process costs are going to be reduced, maybe between 25 and 40% on average. The next myth, all processes can be improved with RPA. Usually you have your processes in place, but you do see a much significant increase in processing speed by a bot. Myth that robots will replace the workforce. RPA is a technology to overlay that ties in legacy systems through automation. That talks to the question that we had earlier. But the human workforce is going to increase on their focus on results, analytics, and relationships. The days of manually keying in transactions are numbered. Okay, this is just a little bit about my company. Japanese-owned semiconductor and vacuum technology equipment distributor. We sell equipment to build MEMS sensors for IoT. That's one reason why I'm so kind of obsessed about AI and where everything's going because it directly relates to the equipment that I'm trying to sell. And also, many of our customers are investing in new technology to support AI. Okay, my next slide is why prepare for AI. The benefits of AI are expected to outweigh the cons. AI will continue to grow in nearly all aspects of our lives. AI is designed to be a problem-solving technology, and the world economy is expected to gain billions in GDP through utilizing AI. And your career will be impacted by this coming change in AI and related technologies. Okay, how to prepare for AI? Learn the difference between what AI can do easily and what it will be difficult for AI to do. I spoke before about those manual transactions. We know that's going away, but the person doing those transactions can be retrained to find variances, to oversee the bot, and use the bot as a tool to manage their job function. And at the same time, you can develop new skills that'll benefit from AI-driven data. The promise of AI is to say, I've analyzed all these trends, here they are. Now that you have it, now you need to be able to do something with it. Be vigilant to keep your data accurate. So if you have bad data to start with, the analysis from AI will also be bad. And expect routine, rules-based manual tasks to be the first activities to be automated. It's the low-hanging fruit in the RPA world. It's something that can be done with technology today to eliminate manual tasks.
And Dave, right there, we have a couple more questions.
Great.
First one is, what is the cost of entry when beginning? For example, your AI project to automate AP. And then the follow-up, I guess, was the second part of his thinking. Are businesses currently limited to implementing this based on their current ERP system, i.e. QuickBooks?
Yeah, I'd have to look at QuickBooks to see specifically if it can handle it. But yeah, okay, now I'll go back to the first side of it.
Yeah.
You know, my budget was $50,000 to get hardware, to get training, to get the consulting kind of all squared away as an initial cost. But the time it's expected to save over time, I won't have to add a person to my AP staff to handle the transactions going forward. So before you look at an AI project, kind of look and see, what is it going to gain me? You know, do I need to do this today? Push it off a year, 2 years? You know, mine's based on, I was able to kind of do the math and figure out, okay, if I invest $50,000 now in an RPA project, within a couple of years, that cost is paid off. And then now I'm just getting a more efficient process in the future. So everyone's scenario will be different. Some people can do AI projects for less. Some people will do it for more. It's probably best to talk to a vendor that's kind of making these promises to see, have them analyze your infrastructure, what systems you're using. You know, if they've done a conversion or a link to in the past, that's going to kind of help you get a better idea of the cost. But it is being more popular. It's some of your bigger companies are kind of headstrong into RPA. Just one example, I was at Johnson & Johnson in New Jersey, and in their finance department alone, they have 300 bots. And they've got IBM Watson to manage those 300 bots. So that's a huge kind of budget tasks, but it's, that's the future. They've seen that it makes sense to put that kind of investment in their company as a big company.
Right. And
So
Dave,
the trick now, sure.
I'm so sorry.
Nope.
Another person is saying that you keep touching on AP, but he's assuming this can be used to enter into receivables and revenue transactions, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and not only that, a ton of different things. My personal experience is AP. So for me, that's my experience. But it can be AR, it can be purchasing, it can be anywhere there's manual transactions. And especially structured rules-based where this is how it works, there's really no limit to where you can start.
Thank you.
Yep.
I figured this question would be coming, Dave, so I don't know if you want to address it now.
I do.
Yep. Do you have a preferred vendor for AP automation?
Yes. DocuPhase is the vendor I used.
Okay.
I've got a good relationship with them. They're a smaller company. Their focus is automation and linking up to legacy systems, which I have. So DocuPhase, I've met with them, given them access to my system, worked with them to map out a plan. They were the best vendor that I could find for a low cost. And I didn't go right to the big 3 RPA companies. I went to a vendor that could kind of handle this project, almost like project management. They're taking care of it. So I can kind of do my day-to-day, answer their questions, but I'm not really putting my job aside to do RPA. So if you're in my scenario, I think that's a good vendor to check out, and I can certainly send you contact information and help you make a connection there.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Not yet.
Okay, great. Specifics to prepare for AI. It's helpful if you're capturing real-time transactions from a cloud server. The idea is that you want to feed AI with lots of data. And you want to utilize API, and that stands for Application Programming Interface software, to link multiple data sources. So what we talked about in my scenario was I've got an ERP system. I want AI to be part of it. I link the bot, through my ERP system using an API, which is a software tool to make different computer systems communicate and push information. So with an API, I can push information out. I can pull information in. Most of us on the phone already have an existing infrastructure. We're not going to throw it all away and then start again with AI. We're going to try to bolt things into it. We're going to try to get it to work with what we currently have, is my prediction. And you do that with APIs. And to do an API, it's, with my experience, you need to have a good relationship with your vendors so that they communicate, they talk, they have information, that you can map, different fields within different systems to each other. Because, DocuPhase has experience in a lot of different ERP systems, but with mine called Visibility, this is the first of its kind. So I need to teach them, this is how my visibility works. This is the flow of transactions. These are the fields that you're expecting. We call the field ABC. That's your field DEF. Once that mapping is done, it's a much smoother process to get RPA off the ground. Okay, and getting back to the slide, improving the quality of your data with rules and standardizations. The more standard your information is, the more clean it is, the easier it is to get analytical data that AI can pull out. That's really what you're after. Before you kind of jump into an AI project, make sure that the data that you have is clean, there's rules with it, you can do a workflow, you can map it out for another vendor to interpret and then apply a bot to. And then once you do all this, the very final thing is prepare to take action based on the data that you get from AI. That's really the goal. That's, AI is supposed to make things better at a company. Make sure that that happens. So I've talked a lot about the transactions, automating, but you can also do risk management, audit functions, compliance and reporting, and forecasting and analytics using AI tools. Pretty soon, AI is going to be used by public company auditors to analyze data, look for patterns, look for trends, do a flux analysis, try to work like an auditor from an AI's point of view to see, does this data look good compared to the previous years? Is there anything that's jumping out to AI that's strange or unusual that an auditor should question? And I've talked about, AI going within ERP system. This happens to be my ERP system called Visibility. It's not well known, but it's got a lot of automation already through workflows and user-defined fields. There's automatic subledgers like AP Trade, automatic job costing, automatic reporting. FIFO inventory is tracked by purchase orders for automatic COGS posting. And this is done without AI at the moment, but it is API ready for RPA integration. Right now, I'm already using APIs to connect to other databases to push and pull information. For example, with UPS and FedEx, I can push information to UPS and FedEx, and I can get information from them to put back into my system. That's, your ERP system should be able to do that. That's going to really help the RPA or AI bolt-on to your ERP. This is just kind of a reference for people looking at a modern ERP system, some of the things it has in it, to kind of just give you an idea of what's out there, what's available. And we're talking about automation. I'm using RPA. I'm also using SkyStem, which uses AI to do automatic account reconciliations. This is a cloud-based that can use multi-currency. I can reconcile multiple periods with dashboards and system algorithms that pick up on information and helps push sign-offs and workflows. It's a paperless process, and it's a real-time dashboard to monitor where you are in the process, who's approved accounts, which ones are still open, which ones were automatically reconciled. And it's a great tool to add to an automation platform. And which new skills will be important with AI? So troubleshooting ERP system problems, interpreting data and offering advice to increase positive results, finding variances in data assembled by bots. A lot of this, many companies may not be doing now, but something to go to. And I just wanted to introduce the term algorithm. That's how AI functions. Algorithm is a set of rules to be followed in a calculation. So when you hear algorithm and AI, those are used often together because that's what runs AI. So the more familiar you are with algorithms and how those are designed to work with AI, the better your understanding of AI. Okay, and then the need to build trust. This is still an issue with a lot of people. Leaders have to know that they have confidence in their AI system to function reliably and accurately. And they need to be able to trust the data that's being used. In my example, I'm using, I'm going to have AI, give me data, put it into my system, but before I say, yes, I agree, I'm kind of having that double check. I want to be able to see that audit trail. I want to know what were the rules that AI used to do X and Y? Can I see, what they see? How did they take these documents to turn it into this data? As time goes on, we're going to have to learn to trust AI, but right now we're not quite there. So I guess now would be a good time for poll question number 3.
And I just launched it.
Great.
So we'll just wait for the answers, and I'll let you know what they say. Of course, the question here is, what do you think will be the biggest challenge to face after starting an AI project? I'm sure that's a question for many. They're probably wondering that, so it'll be interesting to see what the feedback is.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely a resource for people.
Thank you so much for that, Dave.
Yeah,
And I believe still coming in with the answers. We'll wait just a couple more seconds, tally it all up. Okay, it looks like it stopped, so I will share that.
Okay.
So it looks like there's a tie for the first, and it's setting aside time to implement the project. Totally reasonable. The other one is convincing employee implementation will change daily tasks. And then behind that is vendor interaction and collaboration. That's 18%. There's an other and a we will not start one, both at 5%. So convincing employee implementation and setting aside time was both at 36%. Interesting.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, back to you.
Okay, so there's all this talk about people being let go due to automation. So I would advise this not only for yourself, but for your team, is to use your authority as the owner of your business data to ensure accuracy of what automation posts and what it does. Because we have to sign off as finance people on these are the numbers, you know, that authority keeps you relevant. That authority you're not going to hand over to a bot. It's this type of thinking to kind of maybe put not only your own mind at ease, but that of your staff. Like I had my, AP person in my case, we're kind of concerned like, well, if you're automating my job, what am I going to do? And it's really not the case of automating their job. It's just, eliminating the data entry part of their job, but they still have to manage the function. And it's going to speed up what they do, and they're going to be able to process more, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be obsolete. But to stay valuable to your company as automation takes over, by taking on more functions, do more. If a lot of your time is now saved through this automation process, do more. Do something else that gives value back to the business. And anticipate changes and adapt your role to the way that new work will be available to do. And I guess that means that I'm trying to say that, learn new skills, learn what's going to, try to predict what's going to be important in the future. Don't just kind of wait to say, yeah, I'm doing everything that everything I'm doing now, I'm going to do the same in the future. Things could radically change. Blockchain, for example, could change the whole debits and credits in accounting. As someone that their background is accounting, to have that kind of wild claim, I'm like, are you kidding me? How are you going to change after hundreds of years, change accounting? But that is what people are talking about. So learning new skills and finding gaps in your reporting process, that's another way that you're adding value back to your company after automation. And a lot of people forecast AI advancements. I'll just say that some AI initiatives are going to succeed while others will fail. And science fiction through popular culture has influenced a lot of opinions on the dangerous potential of AI. You had kind of high-tech leaders coming out saying, whoa, let's put the brakes on it. Make sure that, this doesn't get out of control, and come up with ways to prevent AI from taking over. I think it's a little early to be talking that way. And I think a lot of that is just due to popular culture. And if you look into the future, the further you look, the less accurate those AI advancement forecasts will be. When people talk about AI, they're like, well, eventually AI is going to be able to think like a human. And that may be true, but that's, to me, many decades away. And it's something like today, if you're thinking about business and AI, it's not even on the radar. But AI is happening in many different industries and simultaneously at a very fast pace. So, that's why I'm glad we've got the audience today to kind of look and see what's happening in AI, try to predict where it's going to go. But even given this presentation, I can't answer all the questions about AI. But I'd like to thank the CFO Leadership Council for giving me this opportunity. I've been a member of CFO Leadership Council for many years now. I find it very valuable to me. And as I give talks around the country, I let people know about our group. So this is my contact information. Email and LinkedIn, anyone on the call, I'll certainly link in with you. I do talks on AI, ERP, RPA, automation, cryptocurrency, blockchain. Anyone that has questions from this webinar, if you want to, send me an email, send me a note, I'd be happy to answer it for you. And I guess I'll maybe leave, the remaining time available to questions.
Thanks, Dave. I'm just looking to see if there are any. So definitely take advantage of Dave's time. We have a few minutes if there's anything else. I'm very appreciative that you let me interrupt you, Dave, and let them ask questions as we went along. I'm sure that was very helpful.
Yeah, it is. No,
yeah, and so appreciate all the information that you give, and it's interesting that you're just going through that and you offer it out in your own company. So and you develop it in your own company. So I guess it's what you're going through.
Yeah, no, it's my experience, and I'm happy to share that with anyone in terms of what's been the great things about it, what's been the things that aren't so good about it.
Right.
It's you go into it with a certain assumption, but then as you do the nuts and bolts of it and you get really into the detail, it's not always the same as what you expect.
Yes, right. And hopefully the surprises on the other side are positive and great. And and I guess that really depends on having your knowledge, getting more knowledge, and then hiring that right vendor or service provider to make sure that it goes smoothly. That's good. So thank you for offering that information out as well. I'm sure it was helpful. I don't see any more questions, so that's good. I'm sure that they have a lot. Again, thank you so much for giving your information here. For all of you who are on the call, thank you so much for joining us today. And I do hope you received some valuable and practicable information from Dave. As he's invited you, I will also invite you to reach out to him at your convenience. And with a couple of minutes left, I'm going to say this concludes our presentation on getting ready for AI. So to all of you, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll take the opportunity to say Happy Thanksgiving as well.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye, all.